The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Hey everybody, it's Jamel, Tierrai, and Thaao. This is a very special episode and a recorded episode, and we will just do a slight recap of Bermuda in 2025. I'm sure that going to disagree on some things, agree on some things, and reflect on a year where some folks actually forget that a general election took. So many things took place, a lot to discuss, and we really want to figure out like what do you believe we can take from this year to build on 2026, but also what do we need to leave behind? So let's get to it. Tierrai, Thaao, you guys excited? Like, are you feeling good? Like, how did you, as you reflect on 2025? I'm sure there was a lot of positive, but obviously we had some we're like to forget or at least not repeat. But what are your thoughts? Like, what do you? I know Tierrai, you probably did an essay. Thao's probably got an essay in his head about my mind doesn't work like yours, so I'm gonna probably have to bounce off. I have some notes, but what are you guys thinking? What as we reflect on 2025, what comes to mind for you?
Well, the thing that immediately comes to mind when I consider the last 12 months is, and maybe Tierrai, you'll know the provenance of this aphorism, which is to say, may you live in interesting times. Now, that sounds like it could be a blessing. Also, very much sounds like it could be a curse.
Yeah.
Right? Because not everything that's interesting is the positive good for you. Like it can be fascinating walking through the prelude to an apocalypse, for example. It'd be fascinating, horrifying, but fascinating. So that's what I think the past year has been more than anything else. Interesting. It has not been boring. Now, as far as the moral characterization, that's a little more complicated. But at the very least, that's where I am. The 2025 has been interesting. How about you guys?
Interesting, I think, is a good word to use because it captures the good, the bad, the ugly. Like when I'm in school, we have an interesting word jar. So you just can't use the word interesting because it means you're avoiding saying something that you really want to say. But I think 2025 was interesting. It was a lot. And 2024 was like the most dense election year on record. So 2025 was bound to be something special. And it really was. It started off with the general election, and I think that really shaped the rest of the year because everyone, at least in my circle, like I was tired. I grew very frustrated, I think, with Bermuda, but also with the world. Like so much was happening. It feels like Trump has been in office for 7 years, but turns out he hasn't. He's only been there for like not even a full year yet, but it feels like forever. So there's just been a lot happening, and with all of that it's kind of hard to detangle, okay, what really went wrong or what really went right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that because I know there was a lot of good as well. Like there was a lot of good, but there was also a lot of interesting stuff.
Let's start because you said we started off the year with an 11, right? Let's start there because one of the things that never leave my mind is all the good work. First off, let's give props to Tierrai and her colleagues in Bermuda Youth Connect, because they've done a tremendous job, even still, something that really started, or at least I found out about during the pandemic, still going strong and getting better. But I just remember, for me, that they had a conversation with the Premier David Burt on, say, a Monday, and on a Tuesday, the Premier announced that we were heading to the polls. And it was almost like, you just met with this young group who pretty much are trying to make inroads and ensure that other young people have the opportunity to vote. And then it seemed like you disregarded them, right? And so let's start there. I mean, did that do more damage to getting young people to trust and get politically involved, or did it inspire them to want to get politically involved?
I'm going to say something that I've never said publicly before, but when the Premier invited Bermuda Youth Connect to interview him, we always do this thing of like, who is available to have the interview and to talk to anyone who wants to be interviewed. And something about this interview felt off to me. I was available. I was free. I could have been there, but there was just something that was like, no, Therray, don't get on that.
Really?
Yes. And during in our team, it's like, this is like it was either end of December or early in January. And this is the busiest time. But something in me was like, don't get on that interview screen. Nothing might go wrong. Something might go right, but just don't be on that screen. And I don't know, I had this eerie feeling about the interview. And then when he dropped the writ, I was like, that's what it was. That's literally what it was, because I was like, I don't know if this is a genuine ask, if this is a genuine request for an interview, or just even a genuine engagement, quite frankly, between Bermuda and the Premier. So I started off with this very, very suspicious feeling.
Right.
And then when he called the election, I was like, well, there you have it, folks. Like, because it really was. What you were going to say, Thaao?
No, I wanted to ask your theory, right? Because, okay, I believe that, and all of this is completely speculative, like no source information, but just there are only two options, right? Either Premier Burt knew in advance that the election was going to be called on the following day, potentially like months prior, right? Like that's entirely plausible. However, it is politics, and it could have been, it is, I think, less likely, but possible that after that interview and getting a full face worth of the potential pressure that was going to be coming from Bermuda Youth Connect in particular, and young people generally that overseas, to say like, no, we need to be involved in the political process in a practical way. You have to give us this option, He could have smelled that and said, well, let me not give that movement any extra time to build up steam. Pushing a button tomorrow. Now, that's possible, right? It's not terribly likely, but things like that have happened in local politics.
Yeah.
Now, Jay's making faces, so I'm pretty sure he thinks that that's not terribly plausible, despite its possibility. But that's was that one of the things that you think may have made you feel uneasy? Like, I mean, you're questioning his motives.
I was.
Were you questioning him about that?
I think so, because also we were talking about the budget, right? But then once you call the election, the budget is null and void, because then Parliament is dissolved, everything. You have to start from zero. So the team, I still did a lot of the uplift work. Like we still studied the budget, drafted questions. Like there was a lot of kind of heavy lifting on our end. But once he called the election, everything we talked about became irrelevant. Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know where my skepticism came from. First of all, I just think that like politicians are hesitant to engage at Bermuda Youth Connect, but they know that they have to, so they do. So the request came at an odd time. Like, I don't know, something was in the air. Like my intuition was just like, girl, don't be on the screen. Don't interview him personally. But yeah, I don't know. And to your point, Thaao, about like, what did that do? I think after the election, that made us go 10 times harder, because we were like, are you serious? Are you serious? Yes. Yeah. And none of us are here to vote, but you're still calling this election. We're not here to vote, and you're calling this election. And then we put the pressure on. I wrote the statement like the next day. We sent it to Taj, Bermuda is Love, and other people said, do you agree? Do you want to sign it? And then from there, the steam kind of built itself because people were like, yeah, this is terrible. Let me put you in contact with the company. Let me put you in contact with the donors. How big do you want to take this? And we were like, to the moon. And to the moon was bringing students home to vote. And we ended up doing that, as well as our kind of regular scheduling with the with the, what do you call them? The people who are running in elections.
Candidates.
Yeah, the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of those, child.
Yeah.
So we had those interviews, and then we were also trying to do the national debate, which ended up being imploded while we were all in school. So yeah, it was a lot.
Well,
it really was a lot.
I want to say this, that Tierrai, I don't know where you put it, but you put it somewhere earlier this year. I'm pretty sure it was you. It was pretty much a quote, and it's not, don't quote me directly, but you got knocked down, you bounce back. It was something to that effect you said. And I think Bermuda Youth Connect did something that's very inspirational for a young group of people who could have been discouraged and just said, you know what, I'm done with it. Because a lot of people do that. They're like, I don't need this. I'm just going to go finish my education into my career. And you guys bounced back, said, no, this is a problem. We're going to have we're going to work with people who want to support what we're doing. We're going to fly back those who are able to fly back. We're going to make sure that we are heard and are part of this process. I think the part for me is that Premier David Brett's going to be long gone, right? Mm-hmm. The impact of this, it really doesn't matter to him, but like it matters going forward. And I think with so many people no longer fighting, I mean, back when we were young, Thaao, there were the unions, and there's so many pressure groups, right? And if we're honest, pressure groups are what hold government accountable. It's not just the opposition; it's the pressure group, whether it's the union or these environmental groups, like Stuart Hayward. Now, Bermuda Youth Connect is in a space where they're that pressure group, and as you guys, as you all evolve and grow older, you need to ensure you're bringing another group through, because that's what's going to hold them accountable and ensure that this is not an issue going forward.
Mm-hmm. Like the development of a culture of civic engagement, and that I think is part of why politics can be so dissatisfying on a national level, because once we got through the civil rights movement, and then once the Progressive Labor Party won the government in 1998, sort of cracking that, lasting glass ceiling, I think that too many of us assume like, okay, we fixed it. Like all the big stuff's been taken
people
care
are
of.
in, problems are solved.
You're right. Like not just black folks, but black folks representing working people are in.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore our interests are going to be looked after, right? Yeah. And I think for a good generation, political complacency was sort of baked in to their experience, which necessarily leads to further frustration and disappointment. So, I really, really hope that the example that Bermuda Youth Connect has established can be modeled. Because I know y'all gonna keep doing what y'all do, but what I'm really excited about is to see who has observed your work and thought to themselves, I could do that too, and I might even be able to do it better, and just grow that, right?
And that should be the goal, right? It's latching on to what works, and even if it's a group that comes along, but the work has to continue. And there were other things that came from this election. Let's talk about it, because there were a record number of independent candidates. Now, none of them were successful in winning a seat, but you can definitely say they played a role. But it told us a story of them too, right? Like, I mean, to me, one of the stories it told is more people now believe that they need to get politically involved to make a difference, right? And also that they are unhappy with the caliber of candidates that continue to put their names forward.
And that particular detail, the record number of independent candidates, if you cross-reference that with the ongoing decline in voter turnout overall, it tells you that there's dissatisfaction and, frankly, disinterest on both sides of the equation. Not just the people that are standing for parliament, but also the people that are there to affirm like them in order to get into parliament. And it's like there are people so frustrated with the system that they're saying, I'm going to run myself, But at the same time, so many of us are saying it don't matter who runs. It's all nonsense. I ain't participating anyway, which is like these two competing forces that kind of counteract one another in a really depressing kind of way. I have no idea what's to be done about it, but it is sad.
And the independents, they were like, the party system is the thing that needs to be busted, right? Like the party system is the reason that Bermudians are feeling frustrated or dissatisfied. It's the reason we can't get things done. So I think they ran because they were upset with the status quo, but also with parties, which, to contrast that with what you said earlier, Thaao, about how 1998 represented some hope and, you know, shattering a glass ceiling, to think about how far we've come, but also how much we've like gone back in terms of engagement and interest and just hope in the future. It's really, really depressing, I think. But at the same time, there was a lot of energy, a lot of good energy around the independence. I don't know if you guys had felt it, but like I definitely did. Like people were really, really excited about the independence, which to me, when they lost the ballot box, translated to, oh, they're excited about change and what could happen in the future. So I try to hold on to that too, while I remember that, like, oh yeah, it's really, really, it's really tough out here. But I think the independents there, I hope it's not the last we see of them. Aren't they a party now or something? Aren't they the People's Coalition or something of that nature?
Yeah, but see that's like and see, this is the thing, that because I in this way I know I can be like a wet blanket and cold bucket, but some of the critiques about local politics are like they are emotionally satisfying and feel like intuitively absolutely correct, which is the critiques of the parties, right? But then you run a whole bunch of independents, and let's say that they were more dominant, like they actually picked up a whole bunch of seats and ended up getting into a position of power and influence in parliament. In order for them to function, they would have to necessarily kind of break into subgroups that advocate for particular positions and advocate against other positions, which functionally they'll end up being parties anyway, right? Like there's a reason why political parties form it out of no other reason than just efficiency, right? Like, because the kind of granular, ongoing, never-ending negotiations that would take place in a local parliament that's entirely populated by genuinely independent actors. I mean, you think very little gets done now under those circumstances. You know, like it'll take that much longer to be that much harder. So I don't know. I got all these depressing critiques. I apologize.
Did you guys have a favorite independent candidate? Like, was there one that you were like, oh wait, they should have won?
I was hopeful of Tiffany. I was hopeful of Tiffany.
Yeah, no, she was my favorite.
I think she's solid. I think I like what she represents. I think she was very genuine in her approach. Not to say others were not. I think Money Crocker would have been awesome as well. I think actually many of them would have been awesome, but something I think because of me following Tiffany over the last few years, I just felt like I was actually very surprised. And I think one of the challenges she had, there were so many people running down there. You had Kim Swan, the incumbent. You had Quentin Sherlock, FDM. You had the OBA candidate, I believe it was Mr. Harvey, and then her. So I think it was a lot of canceling each other out. That impacted. I do believe that if it were Kim Swan versus Tiffany Painter, we may have had
straight up.
I do think
it's possible. Well, the question I had about the independent candidates, and I don't know that either of y'all are going to want to answer it, is who was your favorite potential chaos maker? Where like, if this person gets in, they're not going to be that great at being an MP. Legislating is not their bag, but they're gonna be interested. They're gonna be interested. Did you have anybody like that?
Would Eugene Dean be considered an independent candidate?
Well,
he was the only one for Imperial Group, right?
Maybe, Imperial Group candidate. Yeah, I would say so. He was like a fringe candidate.
I think he's one of the most brilliant people we have. I think he would have shaken things up in the House, may not have had the power to do a lot of the things that he would love to do or say. But I think he's literally, to me, probably that person who was shaking things up and said some things that in the house, the speaker might have said, "You can't say that," right? I think that's how he approaches things.
I agree with Eugene Dean, but I would say Malachi Simons, the Just a Farmer. Wait, actually, he ran for the
Oh
OBA.
yeah, he was
He
a
ran for the
Yeah,
OBA.
he was, yeah. But he's another one that a representation of a young person that has a particular skill set, a uniquely informed perspective that, you know, his presence in the house, I think, would have been a net benefit.
Yeah,
Just
I would.
straight up.
Yeah, I agree. But I would say Eugene Dean. That would probably be my answer. But I think Wande would have been excellent. I think Cyree Bean would have also been excellent. I think they would have like fit the bill in that they could legislate, do the politicking, but also have real boots on the ground in the way that I think people are upset that our current politicians do not. But a chaos maker, Eugene Dean, maybe even Ray Kai Emery.
Oh yeah, another one.
Oh
Yeah,
He would shake the table down.
I definitely would have definitely been someone who would have shaken things up. He is another one like Eugene Dean. He probably would have got, I guess, a pushback from the speaker. But I think he's another one who's very genuine. I think he means like well in terms of like what he believes is best.
Yeah.
I just don't see how the average Bermudian, the way we think, look at the way we vote. I mean, people will reject the system before voting for someone who's very different from what the system currently is. I think he would have a long way to go to get the trust of voters. But let's move on, guys, because after the election, we had, obviously, we were looking for a new deputy leader in the PLP, which in turn would be a deputy or acting premier once if the premier was unavailable. And the result was Zandy Silva, when a lot of people thought, oh, this is Curtis Dickinson's step to becoming the next leader of the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party and premier when they go to the polls in 2026. I mean, Zandy Silva as deputy premier, is he our next premier? What does this mean? Is the PLP, let's have that conversation. Are the PLP faithful as much as they love Zandy Silva, okay with a non-Black leader?
I have no idea, but it is so interesting that we are in this space because the fact that he's deputy definitionally privileges him as far as the pursuit of the main job, right? Like that transition is just I mean, this is how it works, right? You assume the deputy position to have a better shot at transitioning smoothly into the lead role. However, I'll put it this way. If there's any Portuguese brother or sister in Bermuda that could assume the leadership comfortably with the affirmation of the party, the PLP, it would be Zane. Like if anybody could do it, he would be the guy that could assume that position.
What would that say about the party? Because one of the OBA's biggest things is we're diverse and we reflect Bermuda, which again I say is hogwash all the time because I'm not interested in diversity as far as race and gender. I'm interested in diversity of thought. You can put 10 Black people on your team. If their interest is not to actually make progress for, Black people or fight for, vulnerable people, then are they really diverse if there's not a diversity of thought? So, I mean, that's their argument. And here the PLP is, in this time, ushering in their first non-Black leader. What would that say? Or nothing?
Well, I mean, it could mean any number of things, and I think it demonstrates the diversity of thought in our community, right? Because for some people, they'll think, "Wow, this is something that the PLP should have been able to threshold the PLP should have been able to cross years ago." Right? Like if it really wants to govern for the sake of the entire community, Portuguese folks are as essential to who Bermuda is as any other group. So having a Portuguese leader just kind of makes sense, right? That's one group of people react like that. Another group of people will say this demonstrates they're not serious about the fight, be committed to Black folks. and other people say this demonstrates they're not committed to the fight for working folks because he is entirely too wealthy. He represents capital. He represents industrial power. So to have him in charge of what's at least nominally a Labor Party just seems odd. Notwithstanding the fact that he did not enter the world with the kind of wealth and power that he's been able to generate. But he's just one of the construction barons on an island where there's only maybe like 3 of them. So yeah, I don't know what it will mean. I don't know if it's possible to know what it means objectively, but there are a lot of subjective interpretations that are worthy of conversation that this generates, I think.
To me, it means more the same. Like, although Zane Da Silva is obviously not Black, I think the PLP does this weird thing where they talk about race only in a way that serves them. So they'll probably spin it and be like, oh, this shows, like you guys were saying, that we are for all of Bermuda. You know what I mean? We live in a post-racial society without ever having put forward some substantial racial policy. No reparations, no talk about independence. The most that we've gotten is CARICOM, and even that they handle it with such callousness. And so I think you guys are right. If there's one person who could pull it off, it is Zane. But I also think that there's non-Black people in the PLP have a comfort around Blackness that I don't know if is rooted in like good work and racially consciousness or just proximity. Because I'm like, is Zane Da Silva like racially conscious, or is he just around a whole lot of Black people? And they like, you know what did Kendrick say? Like, Future lets Drake around because he acts tough or whatever, but it doesn't really mean that they're racially in.
Yeah, like, no. I understand it.
So yeah. I question that too. I don't know Zane Da Silva that well, but I always am thinking like, it has real work been done in this case? So that would be my question. I think Zane Da Silva will be more of the same. And quite frankly, most of them would be more of the same, because I think it would be hard for somebody to come into that position without having the stamp of approval from David Byrd, because the party is just so far under his thumb that somebody's going to need his approval, which is why someone like a Curtis Dickinson is going to have a tough time breaking through. I mean, I hope the work has started already, because the leadership election is coming up, next year? Next year around this time, we'll know who it is. So that's interesting. My top contenders, I think, not my preference, but my prediction, Zane Da Silva, Jason Hayward, maybe Curtis Dickinson. I'm going to throw him in there. Who else? Am I missing anyone?
Well, I have my preference.
Who's your preference?
Okay. I promise you, I'm only hesitating, not because of a lack of confidence and faith in my opinion of this person. It's just her name is not typically part of these conversations.
Oh, her.
Yes, that's right. Her.
Tanae?
No. I mean, I shouldn't have said
Alexa?
that. Like that. I'm sorry. I said no too emphatically. That was not a diss to Minister first. Health Minister Kim Wilson.
Oh my God.
I say this.
I see it. I see it, Thaao.
Well, I spent we served in the Senate together. So we were a relatively tight team at the time. Like Walton and Colonel Birch and blah blah. So like I know Minister Wilson, her value set, as well as anybody in active frontline politics, and her value set is as close to perfect as I could ask for, right? Like
that's the problem for me right there, though.
Right type of aspirations, but also like a practical recognition of what is possible.
Yeah, but I have to, because I'm sorry, Tate, but I think that's probably with her, because while her values may seem tied to law and not conscience, and if her conscience is guided by law, then I think that's a problem. What do I mean? She was the AG when we were fighting conscription.
Oh Lord, yeah. Okay, never mind.
She was led by the law, not her conscience. And to me, those are some of the most dangerous people, because the things that were once law and are still law should not be a guide for what's right and wrong. And so that's where my issue with her is.
Yeah, but she's the person to negotiate too. Like I worked in her office as an intern a couple years ago, and she definitely seems like open to newness. So maybe that was something she learned along the way, Jamel.
Maybe she's mature. Okay.
Yeah,
And,
she
and,
matured.
and also I don't know if the attorney general's role
Hmm.
is like the chief law enforcement officer for the island.
That's
Right?
true.
I don't
That's true.
know
She
if
was
you
doing
can
her
blame
job.
an AG for following the law. You know what I'm saying? I do think that law was
Oh,
wrong.
no, fair enough.
However,
because,
that's the space that she occupied, and she did entirely what she was supposed to do. You know,
That's
this
true.
is why I said that, I thought I wanted to be a police officer. Then I said, well, I can't. I don't agree with the majority of the laws on the books. So, like, back then, right? So let's transition. Let's close out the political part, guys. But I wanted to another thing, Therrai, you had mentioned in your notes is a record number of women in the Senate, which I think, again, for me, miss me with diversity as far as race and gender, but it's important. Just because I say miss me with it, it's important because when these things happen, that young lady, that schoolgirl, right? When she sees that, she's like, wow, I can be that. It's not just a position, but again, before Barack Obama, right? Only little white boys could look and say, oh, I can be that when I grow up, right? So with more women, many young ladies can now say, oh, I can possibly do that and make a difference in my community. I mean, that is kind of big news. But again, hopefully it comes with diversity of thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm in support of having more women in the Senate. I think just generally. So um, the research says that they're more efficient, that they do more work. So I would welcome a female premier. Literally, I would.
What another one now because we've
Yeah,
had
Well,
seven.
yes. Well, yes.
Thank
Well,
God for that.
yes. Yes, of course.
We've
I
had
would, yeah, I would welcome it. I just, again, I'm like, okay, does this come with a very specific position about these things, or is it just a face, And I think the independence criticism of the party rings true in this aspect because you can have women there, but they can still not pass a law about abortion or not bring up abortion or not talk about all the women who are going missing, all the girls who are going missing and what the underbelly of that means. So while I welcome it, the buck doesn't end there for me. So I'm hoping to see more developments on that front. But what about the AG, actually? We never talked about Kim Wilkerson.
No.
Was that
I think she's as far as frontline politics are concerned, a bit too fresh to the space to have been able to build up the necessary intra-party juice to convert that into support for a run for the premiership.
But that was
I just think it's too soon. Is all.
You know what? I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the one who resigned where Emily Gill Dill, Reverend Emily Gill.
Oh, Kathy Lynn Simmons.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get you. She comes across very in the know and like I the way she speaks. But maybe Taylor's right. She may not have the juice at this time, but she was previously in the Senate. She may make a recontest. Let's switch over. One Bermuda Alliance. They took a risk in the election. Taylor's smirking three. So I have a lot to say. about One Bermuda Alliance. But there were concerns that they welcomed Michael Fay back into the fold. Then they had a leadership election due to the resignation of Darian Richardson, and now they have Robert King as leader, who's only been on the front line of politics for just over a year. So many people in my conversations beyond the show feel like the OBA's existence does more damage than it does good because they just need to go away.
Talk about it.
Allow for something new to come because all they're going to do is leave the PLP in power. I don't know how I feel right now. I just don't see, even with a change in demographic, I don't see how the OBA makes any dents politically in my lifetime. And I could be wrong, but back in 2012, I predicted that would happen and I kept saying it, even OBA people, oh no, we can't, but we hope to win this. I said it will happen because people will not go to the polls. Then you had some incidents down in St. George where John Gibbons, within the last few weeks, was replaced by Renee Ming. That was the seat that actually gave them the government. So I saw things happening at that time. I'm not sure even the biggest controversy in the PLP today would give the OBA a springboard to becoming the government.
And that even if that was the case, that would be a very inefficient method of political success, right? Like, all right, we can win if they, I almost cursed, if they screw up really, 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 really badly. Like, that's our path to victory. Their complete collapse. If that is the route to success available to you, you should probably go away. Imagine we're talking about anything else. Like you owned a restaurant, right? And you were right next to another restaurant that was much better. And you're like, okay, they're gonna get somebody food poisoning and they're gonna die. And then we're gonna be booked out till Valentine's Day. Like, if that's really how you thinking, not even how you thinking, if that's really what's available to you, just go away. And when I say go away, I mean really go away, not in the go away that way that the UBP did to become the OBA. I mean, gone. Like, this coalition, the thing that binds it together within itself, is an impediment to Bermuda's overall socio-political maturation, right? I've ranted about this for, God, more than a decade now. This has happened throughout the Caribbean. The party the party of capital, the party of the oligarchs, the party of the ownership class, they ran everything until the civil rights era. Then they just went away because there was no appetite for them once the party, the majority representing working people, assumed power. And then there was a single party state for maybe an election cycle, maybe two. And then the party in power, the representative majority party, the working people's party, they break in half on ideological grounds. And then people are finally able to vote on the basis of what they think about the future, what their values are, rather than just fighting old racial conflicts, right? I'm going to vote for the conservative party because they're conservative. I'm going to vote for the progressive party because they're progressive. As opposed to, I'm going to vote for this conservative party, even though I have progressive views, because they're anti-white supremacy. And the inverse, right? Like, the OBA is just getting in the way. This has happened throughout the Caribbean, but not here.
Thaao, but do you think Bermuda's a bit different in that we're kind of like South Africa? In that there's white people here. They control a lot of the wealth. They have a lot of power. So you saying, they have to split so people can vote according to ideology. People want to vote according to race. We got to keep it a buck.
Yeah, no, that's my point. You have to take that option off the table.
I don't think you can.
You could.
Where?
Okay. Look,
the Caribbean is, because I'm like, the Caribbean, like, what other country in the Caribbean has the same uneven structure?
Like demographic split?
Yeah.
Wow. that is a very insightful question. The countries like us, racially, demographically speaking, are the ones that are not independent. Right? Like, which is to say, the ones that are very, very similar to us. But let me just make this point this way. In Bermuda's entire history of electoral politics, once the franchise was universal, there has been one consistent, reliable voting bloc the whole time, every single election we've ever had, which is to say, white folks. They have all voted in. When I say all, I mean 95+%, right? And this is just math. This is counting, right? This is how this thing is going down. And I don't know that there's any way, as long as there is a PLP to vote against and an OBA or UBP, something like that, to vote for, that particular racial bloc has any chance of cracking, which is why you just take it off the table. So now you can't vote on there's no way for you to credibly pull it off to your own satisfaction. But then once the PLP inevitably splits, because that is what will happen, because trust and believe, one of the reasons why we are all so frustrated with the Progressive Labor Party is because the people in the caucus, the people in the branch, the consensus that binds them together are not like core values. It's just being anti-white supremacy, right? That's why you can't go really progressive, or the really progressive instincts are restricted by the conservative impulses, by a meaningful coalition within the party type thing. Like we just, like, the PLP will crack. They will not stick around and get worse. They will get worse in the short term, but like they will split and give us all, for the first time in our history, the ability to vote for reasons other than race.
I hope they do.
I mean, come on, like who doesn't want that?
Well, let's wrap up the political segment of this part. It seems what the ODA has.
Sorry, I ran.
Thaao said, "Whoo."
It seems like they have a problem, but the PLP has actually the same problem. And this is not to insult anyone at this time. But the problem we seem to be running into, and you two may feel very different. And it's not to disregard the blue collar, because there were always blue collar people who got involved politically.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time when we attracted the best of the best, whether it was blue collar, whether it was lawyers, whether it was business people, and so on. It seems like people who would be considered the best to make decisions are no longer getting involved in politics. And so we're left with, and I don't mean to demean anyone or condemn, but we're left with people who, in some respects, and this is not to say all, need a job. And once you have that, you have people who are willing to do every and anything to maintain those positions. And that's the danger that we have in actually. Now, the other side of it is the rich using their money to maintain political power, to keep the average person out of it, right? And so it's this thing. It's either the rich who use the money to maintain power, or the people who really need jobs. And then you have those in-betweens, those people. We no longer get those in-betweens, it seems, like we used to. We still have them. My point is, how do we attract people who we believe will be best to give us the best opportunity? Or do we just need to say, the system is the problem, won't work, can't work, and the PLP needs to do what the party was created to do and leave the people to independent?
That's a very good question, but I don't know there are very many good answers.
This aren't like, I was gonna say, like, I think they created this kakistocracy, like where they have all these loyalists, but nobody who can do the job. Because let's be for real, it seemed like they were pulling people off the street and telling them to run for office. I don't think it's unfair or disrespectful. I think as a citizen, you have the right to say this candidate is below par.
Of course.
Point blank, period.
Yeah, of course.
Because when you have somebody on camera who can't even tell you what they believe in, that's a problem, especially if you're a part of a party. That's a problem. So, Jamel, I worry about this lot of PLP people bringing us to independence, because I'm like, do I even trust their vision? They can't even talk about race in a good way, in a substantive way that moves the needle. Yet they are going to take us to independence. What next? I don't trust them now as a colony. I don't trust them now. I'm definitely not going to trust them as an independent nation to build what? No, it cannot be this crew. It cannot be this crew. Because if they were to pull it on the ballot, independence on the ballot as Premier Burt, Zane De Silva, whoever else as the PLP government, I'm voting against it. Not because I don't believe in independence, but because they cannot be the ones to take us there. No. It cannot be them.
I feel you. You are credible. That is a reasonable argument. It just breaks my heart, because this is what, like, we had a shot at being independent, and the exact same basic premise is what kept us from that result. Like, I want independence, but not under them, and that, I think, is one of the PLP's great lasting sins. Basically lobbying, their membership to not vote in favor of that that referendum in when was it, 95?
94 or 95?
Something.
90, no, oh, you're right, 94, Jay.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the great and lasting sins of the PLP. However, there's one other thing. Speaking of what, to Jay's point, like folks pursuing parliament that are mostly in need of employment rather than the opportunity to serve and make things better. Our parliamentary math runs cross-reference with our population. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, we talked about this before. Right?
Yeah, we see.
Yep.
Right? Like there's about 48,000, actually probably less than that now, Bermudians living on the island between the ages of 0 and however old. There are 47 constitutionally required seats in our parliament to function in order for like legislation to occur or legislating. That means 1 out of 1,000 people has to be a legislator in order for this to work. And this includes like babies and super duper elder people. So really it's like 1 in 500 if you parse the math down a little further. That is bonkers. It's like saying what 1 in 500 people needs to be a professional basketball player. Like, can you imagine what the NBA would look like if they really had to draw it out that way?
Yeah.
Me and you, Jay, we would be starting shooting.
And we know him.
No, I'm 6'2".
You
Don't
two
stop
on the
it.
starting line. Yeah, no.
See,
Yeah,
you gotta remember, Tierrai is much taller than us both, so we can't bring up height when she's in the room.
Actually, that's facts too, yo.
That's why I'm glad we were
sit
sitting
up
in dinner.
straight.
I'm like,
Hold on.
and I'm glad she wasn't there for the picture too, because
You know what? I saw that and I was like, maybe it's a good thing because I would have been towering over everyone. But
Yo,
you
you
know what?
would have been able to see all of our bald spots.
yeah, you'd have been looking down super fine.
Yeah, man.
I think
I don't bend forward on person when I'm on the show on purpose. I promise.
Is it right where your headphone sits? Is it right?
Yes, no, it's there and beyond. Like it's basically the whole. I look like Friar Tuck before he cleans up the middle part. You know what I'm saying? Like I could Friar Tuck it today and it wouldn't, or George Jefferson to make it a little more
speak for yourself. I'm losing from the front, you losing the middle. But look, let's wrap it up. So political predictions for 2026. I want to go first. I predict 2 things.
All right.
I don't believe that Robert King will be the OBA leader this time next year. 2, I can't see how anyone beats Zandy Silva if he does actually go for the leadership of the PLP.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, I agree with both of your. Well, actually, I agree with your first prediction to the point where I don't even think it's a prediction. It's just a statement of fact before it's happened. Like there's no way that Mr. King is going to remain in that position. It's not a critique of him. It's just of course he's going to be gone. Now, as far as Zane is concerned, I am a little surprised that you're that confident that it's his to lose, because that suggests that your understanding of the Progressive Labor Party is that it's not as bound up as I think. Frankly, it sounds like me and Therrai think in race, at least the nominal aesthetics of race and class and stuff. Like you think if Zane wants it, he's got it, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He's the deputy leader. If I know it's a different position, but no disrespect intended. Money talks.
Oh, I got you. Okay. No, I was not thinking like. Okay. Yes, that helps me understand your position more clearly.
Me too, but I'd be terrified because if you have the bankroll making all the decisions, we talk about like a monopoly on power now.
Yeah.
Your
That is
first prediction I can get behind, Jamel. The one about Robert King, I can see that. Your second one, I don't know. I think it's a mix up. I like Kim Wilson. I like Jason Hayward, Curtis Dickinson. I want to see a race between those three. We might even get like a surprise candidate who throws their hat in the ring. Who knows? I would like to see Alexa Lightborn run for something, although she's new, but I know she did like a lot of work in the back end of the PLP for a bit. Someone young too, like maybe someone young, maybe Shamori should run for leader of the party. He is like
my mate Jashay.
But
Like,
here's the thing with
new
that.
cabinet
I
member.
don't want to. I think Jashay.
But no, I need to stop you because it's the whole women thing and young thing. We need not forget that David is the youngest premier in the history of Bermuda. Again, to my point about age and gender, I don't really care for it. If the people don't have a mentality to represent what we're bigging them up for. So if you don't have a mentality to represent for women and fight for women, then you being a woman doesn't matter to me. If you don't have a mentality as a young person to fight for issues that are impacting young people, I don't give a crap how old you are. So that's where I'm at with when I say, like, look, I'm a black man. I've seen enough black people get voted who legit don't care about other black people. So
Right.
I get it. Honestly, I get it. And I think we need to add clarity to that because what we need to be saying is the right person,
Yeah.
the right black person, the right woman, the right black woman. That's what we need to be doing because we've already seen what happens when we just fight for that black person or that woman. It hasn't served us well.
Yeah.
I think I just want to shake the table. I don't want it to be a stale leadership race like I felt this one was, right? There was Michael Weeks and Zane De Silva, right? And then Michael Weeks dropped out at the last minute. I don't want it to be stale. I want it to be energetic because to me, that would be a testament that the PLP understands the position that it's in, whereas like people are either like Thaao expecting it to split or like me, jaded with the party. The party that I read about is not the party that exists today. So I take your point, Jamel. I just think that I want someone to shake the table and kind of pump some energy into the party because right now it just seems like they're like, oh no, we're doing great. And everything else that we talked about doesn't really fall to them or they don't really listen to because they just think they're doing wonderful. So an energetic leadership race would be like, what's going on?
Now I don't intend to upset you with this, Therray, but what you just described as your preferred leadership process sounds very much like the folks that were describing the Republican presidential candidacy fight in 2015, right? Like they're stuck in one place. They have no energy. We need somebody who's gonna come in and shake the table, rattle the status quo. And then that fellow with that hair, and he show up, and now the World War III with Venezuela is going to start momentarily. Like I'm just saying.
I was thinking though when she said it, I'm like, oh, she wants the Trump effect.
And it won't be boring. It'll be interesting.
Zayn and Trump looking very similar. Have you seen those cartoons?
No, I don't.
I'm gonna send them because they have one where Zane De Silva looks exactly like Donald Trump.
Really?
With respect, I don't think in Bermuda, Zane could ever act or govern like that. I just don't think
nobody could.
It wouldn't happen. But let's wrap this up, guys. We've made our predictions for.
Oh no, I didn't actually. My one prediction.
Hang on, wait.
Is there? I'm sorry, I never seen that.
MBGA. What does it say?
Make Bermuda great again.
It's so silly. she had it saved in her phone. So
yeah. You didn't have to Google it. That was like in our favorite photo.
Come on, Sarah, send it to us. Send it to us.
Yeah. That makes me happy.
What's your prediction?
My prediction is that there's going to be a global catastrophe sometime next year.
Yes.
Bermuda has almost no influence over one way or the other, but will suffer the consequences of in a very deep and lasting way. I'm not thinking pandemic. I'm thinking military conflict. I'm thinking economic collapse. I'm thinking like something bad and big and terrifying is coming, and I don't know that we are in a position to really prepare for it properly or deal with it when it arrives. Like that, I am so anxious, just existentially anxious, thinking about the short term future and globally as it impacts Bermuda.
That's concerning. Therrai, you had one last thing you wanted to say?
I agree with Thao's prediction. I do think that like global catastrophe is coming in 2026. I also think there's going to be a big whistleblower in Bermuda about something that's been happening for the last couple of years. I don't know what, but it just feels like somebody is about to blow the whistle on like deep corruption. And this is kind of a random pop culture one, but I think we're going to see a royal reconciliation between Harry and Meghan and the royal family in the UK.
Really?
Alrighty. Well,
and I actually think that it's gonna, like, the royals themselves are gonna initiate this royal reconciliation because Harry and Meghan have just come up with so much clout. I had to give something that's like very light and pop culture.
Let's keep this political, Bermuda politics. So, real quick.
Yeah, that's politics.
Well,
we're a colony.
Yeah, this is true. It could be our king if some things happen.
Precisely.
Yeah, losing a father and a brother, but we don't wish that on it. But crazy things have happened, right? Should Bermudians be afraid for their political future?
Yes.
What do you mean when you say that? Because my first read of that question is, I think, different than what you intended.
So, for me, I can't vote. You just said we would never have a Donald Trump type of leadership. To me, it's probably what we need. I'm just saying. I look at it very differently from you guys. I think we're trying to wrap it up, but I think
So then why are you saying that, Jamel? We're trying to wrap it up.
Right? How you say that and say, all right, we're gonna go?
I think we need somebody to shake things up, and whether we like him or not, when he came, he shook things up. Our focus was so much on all he was doing bad instead of getting our stuff together to actually combat it in a proper way. So my thing is, we probably need someone to shake it up. Unfortunately, I just don't think we have people with the capacity to do so at this time, because people are struggling. People are trying to make a living. They're trying to take care of their families, and you can't knock them for that. People are in school. People are starting their careers. So I think a lot of people who have the know-how and the will to actually fight and do things have other things going on. But I truly believe that in my lifetime, we're in a bad state simply because of, going back to what I said earlier, we lack pressure groups. We may have a group here and there, but we lack pressure groups to hold politicians accountable these days. And we're no longer in a place where it's just race-based, where that used to work, right? We're in a space now where it's like, I always thought growing up, it was about right and wrong, silly me, right? So it's scary when you think about it, because, at the end of the day, I'm no longer politically involved because I can't get down with some of the things that I see going on. I don't want to get rich off of the backs of society's most vulnerable people. And so many times, and I know politics gets heated and people get in the house and make emotional speeches and statements, and rightfully so, when you haven't done anything wrong but you're being accused. But truthfully, if you feel, or the sentiment in the community is that corruption or bad things are being alleged and they could be true, it's just like if you guys found out I was involved in something and it comes out to be true, you're going to distance yourself. And I would understand that. We have the ability to distance ourselves, and we need to see more of this, like, accountability. We hear about the rumblings, and we don't gossip on the daily hour, right? We speak about things as in the news, but we hear the rumblings about the quarry and things and stuff going on, and who benefits from the sale of this and that. We hear them. It's not a good look. It's not a feel. It's not a good feeling. So that's all I had to say. Did you guys have anything else?
Well, I'm still recovering from you saying we need our own Donald Trump.
Yeah, me too. Because
Yeah.
if we get one,
Therese started it.
I'm
No, she
I'm
didn't.
telling you.
No, she did not.
Therese started
Period,
it.
Thaao. Period.
Therese said we need to shake it up, folks. Thank you all for rocking with us. That's all politically of 2025 and our 2026 predictions. Share in the comments. Let us know how you feel about Bermuda's politics in 2025 and where you think we're heading in 2026. Let us know. Do you agree? Will Robert King still be the leader of the OBA? Do you think Zandy Silva, or will it be Curtis Dickinson? Or, as Therese said, someone else that will eventually be the leader of the PLP, and in turn, if there's no election, the Premier of Bermuda. Let us know. Engage with us. Well, you done? Right, Thaao? Done?
Yeah. The one other prediction I wanted to make is that, and this will sound like an old head, but this is something that's been documented and studied over the years. The worse a community is doing economically, spiritually, just when a country's going through a rough period, the thing that tends to get better the fastest is art, like music in particular, right? Like for example, hip hop was invented during the Reagan era, right? And hip hop in the American context has been super duper dope. Not the super poppy stuff, but like if you're and not even looking too hard, if you want to find some really great hip hop music, it's available and has been throughout the Trump presidency and then the COVID era and then the second, right? So what my hope is that our community of artists can convert like all of this energy and frustration and anger and sadness into the kind of records that can change people's lives, talking specifically about this place, these people, and these moments. So my hope, my abiding hope for 2026 is that it'll be the year where we see Bermudian protest music.
Yeah.
Go
Back 2 Minute was a movement, not just entertainment.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for rocking with us. We are through for this political recap 2025.